prying eye. Take yourself a summer holiday. Get some time away from the brain. Welcome to 1984. Your apathy has opened up the door. Now, big brother, he's spying on you, monitoring through an Apple II. Mandatory soma injections. Hope you don't mind if we rig the election. Freedom of speech for those approved. Best shut up before you're removed. Welcome to 1984. Your apathy has opened up the door. Now, big brother, he's spying on you, monitoring through an Apple II. I told you the police are on a killing spree. You say it means nothing to me. I told you our democracy is now an oligarchy. You say it means nothing to me. I say we're the brain police!
Hello, my children. Remember, the police are there for our protection.
What did your SATs say about you? Oh, I see you're a Delta 2. Speak softly, big brother is near. Never mind, he's already here. Welcome to 1984. Your apathy has opened up the door. And now, big brother, he's spying on you, monitoring through an Apple II. Welcome to 1984. The oligarchy has pried open the door. Now the government, they're watching you, monitoring through your Apple II.
My name is Mel Popeye Moss. I've been a political activist since 2004. I'm also a motorcyclist and club member. For those of us who pay attention to the political scene, we've already figured out our politicians are like the rest of our society. There are good, bad, and evil people everywhere, including those we elect to represent us at any level of government. Ted Cruz once came to a meeting we were holding and said to us, "Forget Washington, D.C. It's hopeless. Work on local issues and elections." With that, we agree 100%. As voters, local politicians, we tend to pay the least attention to. That's anyone seeking your votes locally. School boards, county commissioners are corrupt as hell. It's all about controlling contracts, stealing land, and money under the table. We take judges and DAs, they're all working in cahoots. The system has morphed into something we no longer recognize. Although they took an oath, it seems they no longer recognize the Constitution at all. Have you ever met a district attorney that gave a damn about anything other than convictions, plea bargains, giving cover to police and informants? Innocence means nothing as long as he or she can convince and often rig jury to convict. They really don't want to go to court. They want the defendant to plea bargain, plead guilty, even if they have committed no crime. This happens more often than you think. Our point is, let's pay closer attention to the folks we put into office locally. We need men and women that are persons of honor, who believes in the Constitution as the supreme law of the land, not to be manipulated for their agenda. Let's make sure money and old family names is not the criteria we use to put people into office. Maybe people who should not be in office at all. My name is Mel Popeye Moss. I'm president of Sons of Liberty Rights MC. We are defenders of the Constitution. And we usually show up where people's constitutional rights have been violated.
I think it's spot on.
Yeah.
Based upon what we had then, it's spot on. And, the question now becomes, what does the additional evidence reveal? What is the processing of that evidence? Not only is there a collection of evidence, but there's processing of evidence. And what does that reveal? Will that lead to additional charges? Will that, result in other things happening? It's just so early on. Mm-hmm. But I've heard enough about this, well, my person was the victim in there. No, most of these people were victims. Well, guess what? If they're victims, then they shouldn't have any problem coming to law enforcement and cooperating to ensure that justice is done and the individual solely responsible are brought to justice.
2 years and 4 months later, Abel Reyna is still waiting for someone to come forward. Let us point out, you have the right to remain silent and seek counsel. Who's responsible? The people that were fighting in the parking lot of Twin Peaks. Regular rank-and-file members are rarely privy to conversations of leadership. But if you're a member of the TCOCI, you know exactly why you're there. A political meeting, nothing more.
And at least the first round of interviews, we ain't getting that.
No, they're not cooperating?
So We'll find out soon.
Okay.
And Waco PD, I think the big thing that I'd say too is that law enforcement has done an incredible job. Waco PD is the lead. This is their investigation, and we are all assisting them.
Wait a minute, Abel Reyna. You took over the investigation from a weak-kneed police department who was actually trying to figure out who was involved in the parking lot fight. This has been your investigation since day one, when you changed the investigation's course to arrest 177 people for the same crimes.
McLennan County citizens and Waco citizens, City of Waco citizens should be proud about how their law enforcement came together to work together. Not only just the city of Waco and the county of McLennan and all the cities within, but then state and federal agencies as well. Impressive. Everyone that I spoke to said they had never seen anything like this before, and I don't know if it was that or just the common goal of making sure that justice was done, but...
No, Mr. Reyna. Everyone we talk to outside of Waco says, what a fiasco. That's lawyers, judges, politicians, sheriffs, and yes, police officers. Justice is not done, Mr. Reyna, unless you're referring to the men shot by an assault team with high-powered weapons, with apparently no rules of engagement other than to kill.
Everybody came together and worked together in an impressive fashion. And I mean, it made me proud.
Do you think 170 people are guilty in this case?
I think that 170 people could be guilty in this case. And again, it's so early to sit here and say, I don't have a single report. I don't have a single video at this time. I don't have anything right now. I know of some facts that I get briefed upon by the Waco Police Department, but to sit here and say, it's premature. But if that, based upon what they had at that time, absolutely. And based upon what I see right now, nothing is telling me otherwise, But again, as they process that evidence, you're talking about cell phone. You're talking about getting autopsy reports back. You're talking about additional interviews. You're talking about a lot of work that still needs to be done, and we're trying to make judgment calls on, are these people guilty or not guilty, or, you understand, it's a process. It is a process. And what was decided was there was probable cause to arrest these individuals, and we had a choice of either to do it or not do it. And nobody's going to come into McLennan County and do something like that.
The fact is, Abel Reyna knows there were innocent men and women among those arrested that night. The fact is, they let go TCOCI members that night, veterans, motorcycle ministries, and other MCs. The process Abel Reyna is talking about is hoping for plea bargains and anything he can use to get it, desperately searching for any charges he can add. Abel Reyna is in deep trouble if he can't deliver the innocent along with the guilty. Deep trouble.
The $1 million bonds, that was a statement, wasn't it, Abel?
In what way?
A statement that no one's going to come into McLennan County and do that. You're serious about prosecuting.
I think absolutely it's a statement to the extent of this. You have to look at not only the aggravating factors, that this was done, as many people were killed, as many people were injured, but also when it was done, in broad daylight, at the height of when individuals get out of church and they're going to eat lunch, and just going to eat lunch, period. With police presence, they still committed these acts. I mean, you still had law enforcement presence that was there. It wasn't hidden, it was in the open.
That's an outright lie by Abel Reyna. There were no uniformed officers in the parking lot or visible to it. Maybe the Cossacks knew they were there since they had a visit from Waco PD just days before. The TCOCI members couldn't have known since there was no effort to contact them and let them know of their concerns.
And they still decided to commit these acts. And I think that justifies the $1 million bond. And again, just like you said, not in this county and not on my watch.
Can you explain to us what you talked about a little bit here on these two things that you're looking at?
Sure. A lot of people have asked me about engaging in organized criminal activity. Engaging in organized criminal activity is a person commits that offense if, as a member of a criminal street gang, they commit or conspire to commit. And then there's a laundry list of crimes. Within that laundry list is murder, capital murder, and aggravated.
This is what we call branding bikers as gangs. If Abel Reyna can use this vague law against any group, it doesn't have to be bikers. They lose constitutional rights. Here's what we are trying to explain. Members of the TCOC and I have a reason to be there at Twin Peaks. Banditos are members, as are other 1% clubs. The Cossacks are not members. Why were they there? It depends on who you talk to. Showing up en masse, taking up all the tables, is not how you negotiate. We're just saying.
Assault. So basically you have an individual who, as a member of a criminal street gang, and then they commit or conspire to commit, let's just say, murder. Okay? But then the chapter above that defines criminal street gang. And it says, essentially, that 3 or more persons having a common identifying sign or symbol, okay, or identifiable leadership who continuously or regularly associate in the commission of criminal activities. So basically you have the definition of criminal street gang, and then an individual, if they're a member of that, conspire to commit or commit these crimes at the bottom.
Wait a minute, Abel Reyna. Using that description of a criminal street gang, law enforcement itself is a street gang. Since the FBI data, which includes judicial, shows public officials commit far more crimes than any biker club might be involved in. As a matter of fact, law enforcement, public officials, commits more crimes than all biker clubs put together in America.
So if they were showing up wearing colors, that's organized crime.
I know this. I know the motto of the Cossacks right now is to take care of your own. So if you're showing up with those colors, you're backing your brother. And if your brother's out there shooting a gun and you're taking care of your own, and as many weapons were found out there, they weren't out there just to eat lunch. They weren't out there just to have their little meeting. They meant business. And they fall under the definition of criminal street gang. They were engaging in organized criminal activity.
It's unbelievable. Now a motto makes you guilty, and the DA is a mind reader. 177 people of any kind of organization would not agree to criminal activities and murder that would cost them their lives, their families, their jobs. It just doesn't happen in today's society. Nobody agrees 100% ever. The videos released by the DA's office shows the bikers inside Twin Peaks were running for cover. They weren't heading toward a fight in the parking lot. The weapons count to this day is a laugh. First it was 1,000 weapons, then 700, and now 350. And yes, it's less than that.
At this point, that's what the evidence to us points. That's what it points to us.
And it justifies the charges.
And then it justifies the charges. Now, when you're talking about that, absolutely you have to understand that this investigation is less than 4 days old. The processing of that evidence is critical to further make the charging decisions necessary before we go to the grand jury. And while we can sit here and say you have 170 people arrested in McLennan County Jail and one's been released and there may be others released, you know, what are you going to do? What's the charges now? Right now, I know what the probable cause was up until this point, but the investigation is still early on, and we need to see what that evidence reveals. But I can tell you this, we're going to get to the bottom of it, and we will. Law enforcement is all working together as a team, and I would bet on our gang before I'd bet on their gang.
Okay. So, Abel, is it not likely that 170 people are going to face those serious charges?
I'm not even going to try to put a percentage or possibility or anything like that. It's too early to tell.
Okay.
I can't sit here and tell you that it's not likely that 170 are going to face those charges, no more than I can tell you that it might be 200 because some got away. It's too early to tell. The evidence needs to be processed.
Abel Rayner was telling the truth about his gang, a gang of 3 or more people conspiring to commit criminal activities. In this case, it's the collusion of judges, law enforcement, and the DA's office, not only to deny American citizens their constitutional rights, but to force them into pleading guilty to crimes they did not commit, with threats of imprisonment and using a rigged judicial system. That's the definition of a gang.